Beside a riverbank in the Rhodope Mountains of southern Bulgaria, a woman sings. She sings about the big spring festival that will take place in early May. There will be lamb roasted on a spit, wine, and brandy, delicacies steeped in local tradition. And there will be music as well, chants, dances, and mournful songs of the bagpipe, the classic musical instrument of Bulgaria. In the town of Momchilavici, the bagpipes are still made by hand. Artisan Petru Yanov carefully prepares a goatskin bellow. He's a master of the craft and would never think of creating the instrument any other way than by hand. Love of music runs in the blood of the people of this part of Bulgaria. Greek myth reveals that in these mountains, Orpheus, a legendary singer and musician, dwelled. He passed on his talent to the people of the region. Ever since, the area has been full of exceptional musicians. Handcrafts are an important means of expression for nearly all people here. The women of Momchilavici are weavers, whereas many men are woodcarvers. The raw material grows right outside their doors. The Rhodope Mountains are home to the most densely wooded mountain area in Bulgaria. By Christo, or Old Mr. Christo as the villagers call him, is one of the carvers. By Christo is already 74 years old. His steady business and busy training workshop, however, keep him from thoughts of retirement. There are two keys he stresses to his students. First, love for wood is crucial. It's the most important prerequisite for success. Next is skill, which evolves over time. Wood, says by Christo, shows its soul only to the person who gives his own soul in exchange. So does his wife have a reason to be jealous?
Не ме ревнува. Даже ми помага в много случаи. Тя ми дава вдъхновение. Ами двете. Първо повече жената, после дървото. А понякога повече дървото. Не винаги. Това е.
At the early age of 10, Christo took the chisel in his hand. Nature became his taskmaster. It provided not only material, but also served as a source of motifs for his work. Today, these showpieces can be admired in churches and palaces all over Bulgaria. The residence of Toto Shivkov, the former Communist Party leader, is home to some of Bai's greatest work. This laborious job was a pleasant chapter in his life.
Така е. Сега просто се вълнувам, но виждам творчеството, което ми топли душата. Да.
The ceiling in Toto Shivkov's bedroom is also Bai's work. Shivkov held Bai in high regard and often invited him for dinner. This humbled Christo, he says, for he is a man of simple beginnings.
Това са спомени, които не мога ги забравя през целия живот. Човек, който обича народа. Самоук съм завършил нищо, имам средно образование, нямам даже начално училище.
Mid-May is the time of the feast, a favorite event all over Bulgaria. The theme is a biblical one, the story of Abraham and Isaac. At the center is the sacrificial lamb. The spit has to be turned by hand for up to 8 hours over glowing charcoal. Here in Bulgaria, it's clearly men's business. Meanwhile, the women prepare heaps of salad. Many guests will attend the evening party. At last, it's time to celebrate. No festival in Bulgaria is complete without plenty of song and dance. Before it adopted Christian overtones, this celebration was the pagan spring feast of the Thracians, the original inhabitants of Bulgaria. They lived 5,000 years ago between the Danube and the Aegean, a territory desired by a constantly changing string of conquerors. The plains that lie north of the Balkan Mountains and south of the Danube have been the theater of many bloody battles from the ancient world to modern times. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Romans defeated the Thracians and built a city here, Nicopolis at Istrum. Istrum is the Latin name for the Danube. Nicopolis is a Greek word, a linguistic concession made to the conquered. The literal translation, City of Victory on the Danube. It was an ambitious project, complete with stages, libraries, bathhouses, a sewage water system, and cobblestone streets. Emperor Trajan wanted to tame the barbarians by impressing them with sheer cultural power. For archaeologists Pavlina Vlatkova and Ivan Zanov, the area is a cornucopia of priceless artifacts. Bulgaria is about the same size as the state of Virginia. Many of its 38,000 cultural and historic sites have only been partially excavated, often for private financial gain. Nevertheless, these archaeologists wouldn't dream of changing professions. To them, archaeology is not a job, it's a mission and a childhood dream that has come true.
Не обичам да работя в канцелария, обичам да бъда сред природата, обичам такъв огън, обичам работа с млади хора, обичам всички тези неща. И имам добра съпруга, която ме издържа.
Сега тук, като седя при този огън, който сме запалили, се връщам назад във времето, доста години назад. Тогава, когато още студентка бях и точно такива огньови се палиха и когато около тях ние обсъждахме ежедневната си работа.
The ancient city became their first excavation site nearly 30 years ago. Since then, they've managed to reconstruct its history. The Romans abandoned the city in the 7th century. Bulgaria became a side theater of war during the barbarian invasions. During one such invasion, the present-day Bulgarian nation was formed. Bulgaria's tumultuous history and cultural pride are the topic of a light and sound show in Veliko Chernovo, the former capital north of the Balkan Mountains. The attraction is not only for tourists. Christos Sharitonov, curator of the local museum, is a regular guest as well.
Един от моите предшественици е бил воевода на Чета в бой срещу нашествениците. Но най-обичам от всичко моята родина, България. Да пием за България.
Fortress and residence of former Bulgarian rulers, Veliko Chernovo was the center of Bulgarian power. outside attempts to take over often occurred. But only the Turks managed to conquer the fortress by treason at the end of the 14th century. This began 500 years of Turkish domination. It's a chapter that's not completely over. Even at picnics and family celebrations, the discussions center around the pros and cons of Turkish influence. The social system of the conquerors was far more equitable than others in Europe. Science and technology of the Muslim Ottoman Empire were at the time far ahead in relation to the Christian Occident. Yet, cultural separation from Western Europe ultimately cost Bulgaria dearly. In the old town of Veliko Chernovo, one can still feel centuries of history and tradition. Christo Sharitanov took part in its restoration.
Просто това е една атмосфера, където човек се връща 2-3 века назад. И най-важното е, че произведеното тук можете веднага да си го купите, защото то излиза непосредствено от ръцете на майстора.
In addition to the old town of Veliko Chernovo, Christo is responsible for 27 other historic sites. His favorite is a village on the other side of the river Jantra, Arbanasi. For 500 years, the church bells here remained silent. Steeples were always built beneath the level of all mosque spires. These were the Turkish conquerors' rules. The response was to make the insides of the church even more splendid. Frescoes, more than 500 years old, grace the church of St. Demetrius. For 10 years, Evgeny Nikolov has been working to restore them. Christo comes here quite often to monitor the operations.
Добър ден, колега. Тези изображения, можем ли да считаме, че те са приключени окончателно?
Да.
It's a pleasant break for Evgeny, having someone around who can discuss art. He says being a restorer is all about self-denial. He cannot allow his own ideas to have any influence. The only thing that matters is getting as close as possible to the original.
Свети Димитър е патрона на храма, а Свети Георги на Параклиса.
What's a restorer thinking when he tries to breathe life back into an ancient creation?
Ами има една българска поговорка, който пее зло не мисли. Аз я допълвам с фразата, който рисува зло също не мисли. Преди всичко мисля за работата, която върша, защото тя е доста отговорна, има нужда човек да бъде концентриран, съсредоточен,